B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah. Bruchim Habayim. We're back here on our Tuesday night shiur in Aventura at Ner Avraham. We have our Igeret Ramban. This shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Eliezer ben Esther Mindel, also for Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Ovadia ben Levana, Yosef ben Levana, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Elisheva Chaya bat Sarah, Yochevet bat Batya, Batya bat Sarah, Naomi bat Sarah, and all of Am Yisrael Bezot Hashem will have refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat guf, and also for the success of Abel and Christy, as well as the success of Elad ben Doris. Success in Tshuva, success in Yirat Shamayim, success in completing their mission in this world, Bezot Hashem. And also a refuah shlema for Esther bat Zipporah. Eventually, Bezot Hashem, by the time we remember her name, she won't need refuah shlema anymore. She'll be already healthy enough to give us a shiur. How many times I forget the name? For all those people that think I actually have a good memory, shows you. So it's selective. So the Ramban, Baruch Hashem, has been educating us, and a few people, Baruch Hashem, have really connected to this series more than the others. You know, different people connect to different things. This is why it's a... I always tell you guys, it has nothing to do with me. It's only the Torah. Each neshama has is tuned at different times of its life to different things, and you have to make sure that you listen to yourself, that you chase the emet, but at the same token, where not only where the emet is, but also certain things that you're attracted to yourself. There are times in your life that you're going to like to learn halacha more than you like to learn musar. And there are certain times in your life that you like to learn musar more than you like to learn halacha. That doesn't mean that you stop learning one or the other. It means that maybe you add a little bit extra to the one that you connect to more. If you're studying, let's say, an hour of each a day, alvai, then you like to learn musar a little bit. It's okay, so now you go an hour and 15 minutes of halacha and stay with the hour of musar. Doesn't mean we don't necessarily just study what we like, but the point is that take advantage of certain times when you connect to a certain part of the Torah. But also, sometimes, if a person is wise, they're going to go over certain shiurim. And I've said this many times in the past, is that each shiur, for example, for me, every shiur that Rabbi Ephraim does, I go over it usually at least twice. And even though I don't have time to, people always ask me, oh, did you hear such and such shiur? I say no. Oh, did you hear that one shiur? No, I don't hear any shiurim. But I hear his shiurim. Why? Because I'm part of the shiur, number one. Number two, that's part of my learning. But those shiurim I'll spend twice on. And the reason why is because, again, I connect to it. And if I'm already going to listen to shiur, I want to walk away with knowledge, not just motivation. You know, many people, when they watch shiurim, they want to get motivation, which is good. It's important to have motivation. It's going to get you through the day, maybe through the week. But you also have to walk away with something more than just motivation, because motivation dissipates. You may be motivated today, tomorrow, the next day, but after a while, that motivation deteriorates over time. So you have to do something that's going to last a little longer, and that's where knowledge comes in. If you remember specific things that you wrote down, that you actually even go over your notes once in a while, or at the very least you wrote them down in a notebook, then you've actually committed this knowledge to this information to memory. Because when you simply hear something, that means you're only using two senses. You're using your eyes and you're using your ears, if you're seeing something visually. But if you write something down, that means that you're using multiple senses, more than that, because you're also using your touch, you're using your eyes, you're using your ears. It becomes something that is much more closer to you, something that you commit to memory more, and most importantly, something that you're going to remember when you need it. So that's why sometimes it's good to hear a shiur a couple of times. It's sometimes even better to hear one shiur that really motivated you, that really hit the spot for you, twice, better than hearing two different shiurim. Again, but you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself. I have one guy that I know that he is a Talmid Chacham, serious Talmid Chacham, but also he watches many, many shiurim, and that's part of his learning. But he watches shiurim to the extent where he commits them to memory, where if you ask him a question, he's not only going to give you an answer, he's going to give you the shiur that it says it. He's going to show, oh yeah, this rabbi says it over here, approximately at this minute, and it's usually that minute. And it's very, very important, because that means that you have now studied that shiur like you study a sefer. But if you just study shiurim, you just watch shiurim all day like a machine, and it's like background music, it's good to have it. It's definitely better than the nonsense that people listen to all day, but it's not going to help you sometimes as much as it should. So it's very critical to write down the information. And like I said, myself, I don't have time to watch as many shiurim as I used to. I used to listen to 5, 6, 7, 8 shiurim a day sometimes. I would listen, there were periods of time where literally I would have a CD of Rav Mizrahi on and simply just go through it until I passed out. Or I would listen to Rav Ephraim, or a combination of the two, or I went through a bunch of shiurim of Rav Yagen, and others, and so on. Point is that if you ask me for certain questions, I could usually tell you who else said it and when they said it. And the reason why is not that I have some unique memory. Baruch Hashem, I try. I try to learn the shiurim like I try to learn Sfarim. Sometimes I have more success with one over the other. If you utilize these shiurim like you're supposed to, you could actually become a very well-versed Jew simply by studying shiurim. Also, you need to learn some books as well, but you can become a well-versed Jew by shiurim. But if you listen to shiurim like it's music, meaning, you listen to it like passively, you'll get the motivation. But usually for maybe one part of the shiur or 2 parts of the shiur, but that motivation will dissipate and you'll forget about it 2-3 weeks later. They ask you, hey, by the way, you remember when Rabbi Reuven said such and such? No clue. What are you talking about? When? He said something like that? He goes, yeah, you're the one that told me 2 weeks ago. Oh, I said it? Oh, yeah, so you probably said it then. Like you forgot that you said it because it's, you forgot. You didn't commit it to memory. And chaval, because you're already spending the time. People spend so much time listening to shiurim, Baruch Hashem, that I only see few in number that actually study them. Many listen, Baruch Hashem, but very few study them. And the ones that study them, you see how they advance and how they progress. You see how sometimes they remind me certain things that I said. I remember when Betzalel was here, he says, so Rabbi, when such and such happened in that story, and da-da-da, I asked him, like, I don't know, I don't think I've ever heard of the story. He goes, what do you mean, Rabbi? You're the one that told me the story in the shiur 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whenever it was, and Betzalel knew the shiur better than me. I said, Ishtabach Shimo. This is fantastic. That's a person that's studying. And again, it's a advice to anyone that wants to utilize the shiurim to the best of their capacity. Now, same thing goes with this shiur. One particular woman that was having a lot of marriage issues, Baruch Hashem, she started watching our shiurim some time ago, and she got a lot of help from different shiurim about bitachon and musar and so on and so forth. But she tells me that the cure for all her marriage issues was this series. I don't know how it affected her neshama, but apparently she learned exactly what she needed to learn about her marriage from this series. Now, some people, they're going to learn exactly what they need to learn from the bitachon series. Some people are going to learn it from the Musar Pirkei Avot series. Some people are going to learn it from some of the random lectures that I do, which is not part of a series. different. Like one woman, for example, she simply rewired her entire brain and how she relates and connects to sensuality and modesty and so on, based on one shiur that we did about, it's called kosher intimacy. That shiur has helped more people rewire their brains than almost any other shiur that we've done. And it's amazing because it's not necessarily, like I said, some extraordinary stories. I brought you some dibuk over here to give an interview. I didn't do nothing. I just told you what the Rambam said. But no one ever heard this before in their life. The stuff they heard has been a complete distortion of the Rambam or anything like it. And for the first time in their life, they understood the beauty, not just the power, but the beauty of modesty and the beauty of how modesty can be applied even inside the bedroom. Now, that person didn't hear the shiur one time. That person heard the shiur a few times. And some of them continue to hear it every so often. Why? Because they want to be reminded and want to have that same feeling. So if you have one of the shiurim, if we had the merit to affect you by simply repeating what Chazal said in a certain way, have that shiur on a certain playlist. Aside from sharing it like we talked about a few days ago with at least 10% of the people that you know, but aside from that, have like a separate playlist that you have of shiurim that you go over. It's going to be like, people collect books on their shelves and really most of the time never read them, but hopefully they do. Collect shiurim. Certain shiurim that this is the best. This is the one I got to listen to once a week. This is the one I got to listen to once a month. This is the one I got to listen to whenever I get down. This is when I'm really excited. This, that. Have a collection of shiurim that are really, really going to affect you. Because again, it's if something is good, don't be in such a hurry to replace it or to abandon it or to simply assume you're going to remember it. Because it just doesn't work that way. The Yetzer Hara works very, very hard, and one of his tasks is to affect your memory. Now, there are many things, the Gemara says, there are many things that affect a person's memory. And kavod for the Torah is one of them. If a person has a lot of kavod for the Torah, his memory will improve. If a person does not have kavod for the Torah, his memory will deteriorate. The Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin, page 33b, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos, the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, one of the biggest giants that's ever lived, to the extent that when he spoke and taught Torah, the light that Moshe Rabbeinu had on his face was on Rabbi Eliezer's face. Imagine, you're sitting in a room, it's dark. Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos walks into the room. It's dark. There's no light. There's no like chandeliers for $5,000. Nothing. No electricity. Not even candlelight. Nothing. All of a sudden, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos walks in. Nobody knows yet. He starts saying one divrei Torah. Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. All of a sudden, the whole room is like, whoa, whoa. Put the glasses on. That's what happened. That's how much kedusha he had. So if he says something, we have to take it seriously. Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos said, any Torah student, here he doesn't distinguish between males and females, even though, generally speaking, Torah students are males where they study in the yeshiva. But nonetheless, he says, any Torah student who fails to stand up respectfully for his rabbi and his teacher is called a rasha. And he's destined to forget his Torah knowledge. Now, why is Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos scaring the daylights out of this entire generation that not only does not respect rabbis, but they actually insult them? If they don't like one thing that they said, they heard shiurim for 3 years straight, everything good, they changed their life, they got married, they got divorced, they got kids, they whatever they did. The rabbi was there to help them along the way in their ups and their downs and everything. But one day, the rabbi said something, like you didn't like it so much. Why? Because it affected you, but it wasn't fake. It wasn't false news. It wasn't fake news. It was the truth. You just didn't like it. All of a sudden, bar minan, what do? They want to mamash. They want to hang the guy in public like Yoshke. Want to crucify him. They want the guy to mamash die the worst death in the world. They like the Nazis more than this rabbi. Why? Because he said one thing. that you didn't like. This generation has such a lack of respect for Talmidei Chachamim, for rabbis, that right now, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holken has told us, forget about the disrespect. Disrespect, you want to hear what happens to people that disrespect rabbis? People that disrespect Talmidei Chachamim? Go to my shiur about Gehenom, there's a specific section about them. There's a specific chamber just for them. Just for those people. For disrespect Talmidei Chachamim. But we're not talking about disrespecting Talmidei Chachamim. We're talking about the rabbi walked into the room. You're learning. You're learning your Gemara, you're listening, you're doing something. You're not like just playing with your phone. You're actually learning. The rabbi walks in and you're just like, what's up, rabbi? That's it. You said what's up. You said what's up. No problem. Rabbi Eliezer ben Holken says, that puts you in a category of a rasha. Rasha, criminal, wicked. But that's not enough, he says. He says, not only rasha, but now you're gonna forget what you learned. How much of it? I don't know. Could be everything, could be some of it. All I know is not good. Which means, Rabotai Karim, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holken is trying to tell us, if you do not respect a Talmid Chacham, that means you do not respect the Torah. If you don't respect the Torah, you no longer have the permission to possess it. You've lost the right to hold the key for the Torah. Yeah, but I studied it and I toiled over it. Yeah, good for you. But who gave you the Torah knowledge? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gave it to you. Now he doesn't want to give it to you anymore. Why? You don't respect it. You don't value it. It's like somebody gave you a special gift, and instead of valuing and appreciating, what do? You put it under the laundry. They come into the room. It's like, oh, where's that special diamond bracelet with connected to the ring that I spent my life savings on? Where is it, honey? I don't know. Maybe it's over there under the underwear. You know that one over there? Maybe it's over there. Give me back the ring. Give me the ring. Give me the ring. You know what? Give me the ketubah also. Give me. Well, you respect what I spent my life savings on. You don't value it. Give it back to me. That, Rabotai, is a very, very clear warning from Rabbi Eliezer ben Holken of what does it mean to respect the Torah. Respect the Torah doesn't always mean respect the sages from 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, or respect the Sfarim that when you pick them up you kiss them, or respect the Tefillin that when you take it out you kiss it, or the Mezuzah, or it's not just that. Respecting the Torah means Aleph Ataf, from beginning to end. Because if somebody has the merit to possess Torah and teach it, that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to use this person for a reason. They made certain sacrifices. If someone like Rabbi Mizrahi walks into a room and you say, "What's up, Rabbi?" I'm not really sure if you actually understand the damage that you're causing to yourself. Rabbi Mizrahi would not even care. Most of the time I'll tell you, why are you standing up? Well, he's going to look behind him. Maybe one of the Gedolei, Rav Mazuz, walked in or something. He's not going to know why are you standing up. But that's the key, Rabotai. You're not standing up specifically for him. You're standing up for the Torah that he has. So it's important to know that if you're going to learn shiurim, if you're going to learn from Sfarim, and you're not going to give those shiurim the proper respect, you're bound to lose that knowledge. You come to a shiur empty-handed. You're sitting leg over leg like you're in a movie. Bar minan. You're like this. Oh, chazak, Rabbi, chazak. Back to the phone. Play with the phone. My wife hasn't texted me in a few hours. Okay, well, let me text her. Honey, how you doing? LOL. Oh, Rabbi, it was good. If that's how you watch a shiur, you eat popcorn, there's popcorn coming out of your ears, there's oil all over your shirt, it's entertainment. It's not a shiur Torah. So why do you get surprised that when the Malach HaMavet, the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, all the same thing the Gemara says, different names, different ways that the Satan attacks you. He attacks you in some way, your Yetzer Hara, whether it's money, or it's a woman, or it's a guy, or it's kids, or it's something. He shows up, you fail immediately. All the Torah that you know, all those shiurim that you've watched for the last few years, it's as if you didn't even know anything, you didn't remember anything, and you simply have no shield whatsoever to defend yourself. Why? Why do you think that's the case? The reason why is because you did not know the Torah. You watch the shiur Torah like you watch a music video. Entertainment. So chaval, meaning it's a waste. Respect the Torah. Respect the Torah means toil over it. Try a little harder. Write notes. Stay awake. If you can't stay awake, then force yourself to stay awake. It's not easy. I promise you. It's not easier for me than it is for you. But I can tell you that if the more you toil over the Torah, the harder you try to get something, the more your mind will be opened. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, good, you passed the level, I'll open it a little bit more. You passed the level, I'll open it a little bit more. What's the level? Level is based on Mesirut Nefesh. How much sacrifice you're going to make for the Torah. Why? Because sacrifice is something that is done only for the sake of something that you value. You're not going to sacrifice your life for a marriage you don't want. You're not going to sacrifice your life for a job that you care less about. You're not going to sacrifice your life for a Torah that you care less whether you know it or not. Which means that if you do sacrifice, you love her, you love the job, and you love the Torah. That's why, Rabotai, I see sometimes there's certain people that watch my shiurim 2, 3, 4 years. Baruch Hashem, some of them have become serious Talmidei Chachamim. A couple of people have actually already become rabbis. Mamash rabbis, they have a kehillah. On the other hand, some other people watch the shiurim just as much, just as long. 3, 4 years, same behemah that I met 4 years ago. Nothing has changed. I ask him, do you watch my shiurim? He goes, what do you mean? Every shiur. All the time. You're on my phone or on my car all the time. I said, Hashem, I'm failing you, or there's something wrong. How is it affecting all the other people like this, and you're like that? I mean, okay, let's say within the first few months, there's some klipa, so many sins a certain person made, so they weren't getting it, but after an extended period of time, you stayed the same, while everybody else is already at a different level. There's something wrong here. Something wrong with the learning. That's the key, Rabotai. So, sometimes to admit these mistakes, we have to humble ourselves. Because no one wants to admit that they've been wasting so much of their time and they've been doing something wrong. They always want to blame somebody else. But the truth is that every person knows themselves, knows when they're failing, knows when they succeed, and knows that when something is hitting the nerve, that means that it's an indication that there's something to it. Requires further investigation. Now, the Ramban here is telling us each and every single week we have to reinvestigate ourselves regularly. Reinvestigate ourselves to such a high extent that we literally have been studying one sentence at a time out of this letter, and it's not even enough. The 2-3 hours that we talk about each sentence is not even giving it the full service it requires. It's just giving us a little bit of an impression of what we could learn from it. We've learned about how much damage a person can cause themselves as a result of anger and not controlling themselves. We learned how valuable humility is in regards to how Hashem loves it and how you have to act a certain way physically, exterior-wise, in order to actually have it enter into your neshama. We learn a few things. But now the Ramban is giving us a little bit further. He told us that not only do we have to be humble in our actions, but we have to be humble in our mind. So now the Ramban is going to tell us, what does this actually look like in real life? What does humility look like in real life? And he says the following: let all men seem greater than you in your eyes. He didn't say some men. He didn't say the tall ones or the short ones, the good-looking ones, the bad-looking ones, the black ones, the green ones. Didn't say that. He didn't say women, men. Let all men, meaning all of men, everyone. Everyone is better than you. What do you mean? Well, what about all the stuff that I did? Shouldn't I get some credit? Shouldn't I get some props for it? I was valedictorian. I was valid as something. I was all types of stuff. I have all types of certificates. Shouldn't I get some credit for it? Shouldn't everybody stand up for me? No. Let all men seem greater than you in your eyes. which means that this has more to do with how you view people, not necessarily how people view you. V'im chacham o ashir, v'im chacham o ashiru, alecha lechabdo. If another person is wiser or wealthier than yourself, you must show him respect. Meaning that even if it's something that perhaps may not necessarily have much to do with his own efforts. We know that Hashem is the one that gives you your IQ. Hashem is not, you're not, building your IQ by yourself. Sometimes people are born geniuses. As we said on Sunday in a Sipur, Rabbi Yaron cried about the fact that he was born such a genius. Because he knew that had he not been born such a genius, he would actually have more chidushim. Same thing with money. Anyone that understands who's the one that's providing parnasah, we'll see the Gemara, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, and also Gemara, Masechet Betzah, both 16a, 16b, say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides how much money he's going to give you on Rosh Hashanah until the next Rosh Hashanah. But this parnasah that he gives you does not include how much you're going to spend on Shabbat, on mitzvot, on Yom Tov, which means that the higher level your emunah is, the more money you're going to spend on mitzvot. Why? Because that's not included in your parnasah. You got, let's say for example, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided he's going to give you $100,000 this year. Okay? Some people are saying, wow, Bezrat Hashem. Some people are saying, Chas v'shalom. And it depends on what your income is currently. Just add a zero, deduct a zero, whatever it is. Point is, this is a hypothetical example. Hashem decided to give you $100,000. Now, when did he decide? He decided in Rosh Hashanah. How he's going to give it to you is determined based on every day, based on your actions. But don't think that this is going to limit your mitzvah capabilities. Like some people think, no, I could only give $10,000 maaser this year. Why? Because I made $100,000. I could only give $10,000 maaser. That means that I can't spend $1,500 on tefillin. I can't spend the extra $1,000 on CDs. I can't spend the extra $1,000 to help this poor people. I can't do this. I can't do that. I have my budget. You ask a guy, okay, what about spending money on a special mitzvah, unique mitzvah, even after you gave your maaser? No, I already gave my maaser. That's a wrong mentality. What about Shabbat? How come your Shabbat still looks homeless? You're still eating tuna out of a can. How come you're spending $3 on Shabbat? No, because I gave all my money in tzedakah. I gave all my money in expenses. Mistake. Mistake is, you did not learn the Gemara. The Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides what your parnasah is, but that's excluding your money that you're going to spend on mitzvot. Which means that if you decide to spend $300 or $3,000 every week because you have emunah, not because you're crazy, because you have emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will pay you back for this mitzvah, because you are honoring Shabbat, you are honoring the tefillin, you're honoring the Torah, you're honoring kiruv, and so on and so forth. You're doing this mitzvah, you're spending the money on this mitzvah because this mitzvah is important to you. And you believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the money back, then guess what? He'll give you the money back. Sometimes it works a week later, a day later, 6 months later. Point being is, it is not going to affect your overall parnasah for the year. Even though the number of your salary remains the same, you're not getting new jobs every week, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will find a way to give you the money. Or better yet, sometimes you were supposed to have certain expenses, meaning that you are still going to get $100,000. Your salary is $100,000. But before you did all these mitzvot, in reality, you were only going to actually net, after all expenses, $5,000. Why? Because you have expenses. You live a certain lifestyle. And after all said and done, you have $5,000 left. Out of the $100,000 worth of work, $5,000 was actually saved in the bank at the end of the year. Because you had your rent and your mortgage and your this and your that, all that stuff, you're left with $5,000. Which, by the way, it's actually a good example. Most people, at the end of the year, negative $15,000. They made $100,000, negative $15,000. Every year they add more debt. No one knows how to save any money. That's why maaser has to be from the gross, not from the net. Because it was from the net, no maaser will be given. No one has any money left. Everybody overspends. But the point is, Rabotai, is that a person spent $100,000 and he was supposed to have $5,000, but because he used a certain amount of money to honor the Shabbat, to honor Yom Tov, to honor certain mitzvot, to give for the sake of Torah, to sponsor Talmid Chacham every month, to give for Kiruv every month, every week, whatever it is, because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, what'd you give? Oh, you gave 15,000 for Torah? No problem. Now, instead of keeping 5,000 like you were supposed to anyway, you'll keep 20,000. How? I'll just remove a bunch of expenses from your life. Suddenly, you don't need this insurance because the company made a mistake. Suddenly, you don't need this car repair because your car is not going to break down. Suddenly, you're not going to need this medical expense because you're simply not going to get sick. Certain expenses that you were going to have are not going to happen. And therefore, you end up keeping more. So, Hashem has an infinite amount of ways to give you more money. Point is, I just listed just a couple. There is not chas v'shalom to ever limit Hashem. Hashem has an infinite amount of ways to give you more. And I see it with my own eyes every single month. Somebody asked me one time, when we first started out, I said, well, you know, I left the business. I said, well, how are you going to live? I said, Hashem. He said, what do you, Hashem sends you money? I said, yeah. He goes, how does he send you? Wire transfer or PayPal? I said, he uses all types of ways. He says, no, but Be'emet, how are you going to live? I said, Hashem, seriously, I'm not joking. Hashem's going to send me money. He's like, yeah, but your rent is this, and your kids are this, and your wife is this, and this is this. You have all types of expenses. You're really going to... I said, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So they couldn't understand it. I don't. How does this work? I said, I'm going to do what he says, and he's going to do what he says. And this continued, and one time, the same person gave me some money, and I said thank you, because regardless of who, what, when, and how, you always have to be grateful. And after a little while, I said, listen, I'm not really sure if I'll be able to give anymore. I said, okay, B'ezrat Hashem, no problem. He goes, yeah, but how are you going to pay rent? I said, Hashem. He goes, no, but I'm not going to be able to give you anymore. I said, so Hashem will send somebody else. What do you think, I'm living off of you? You think that I'm actually living because you're sending me a few dollars? If that's what you think, stop giving now. Because what do you mean? You don't value what I give you? I said, no, it has nothing to do with it. I value and I appreciate what you do, but never for a second think that I'm alive because of you. If it wasn't you, it would be somebody else. Why? Hashem runs the world. You decided to be a vessel for Hashem to do His will. When you decide to stop, if you decide to stop, Hashem will find a way. He was a little bit taken back because usually people give money, they want to get a little bit of extra kavod for it. I'm not exactly the best person to give kavod for that. Number one, because I tell people things how they are. And number two, I'm also used to being on the other side. So you're giving me a couple of dollars, you want me to make a big deal out of it. Listen, remember, I used to live a life that wasn't exactly depending on staka. So anyway, some time passed and the money dried up. He wasn't able to give. And a few months later, he asked me, he goes, how you doing? I said, Baruch Hashem, everything is good. He goes, yeah, but I'm not giving you anymore. I said, yeah, but I have more money now. He goes, how? I said, Hashem, send more people. Hashem, send more ways. He goes, what? So you're telling me now you have more than what I had before? I'm like, yeah, I even have a bigger house and a bigger this and a bigger everything. Baruch Hashem is better. Why? Because Hashem decided to use somebody else. What do you mean? It's not you, it's Him. This, Rabotai, is very, very important for a person to know. You need to understand where your money comes from, where his money comes from, where everybody's money comes from. The more we understand where the money comes from, the more we understand how to treat it. This does not mean that you disrespect it or you give it extra respect. The point is, you need to understand where it's coming from. But nonetheless, the Ramban here says that if somebody does have money, you have to treat him with a certain level of kavod. You have to give him respect because he has money, because Hashem decided to use him as a vessel. If somebody has more wisdom, you also have to give a certain amount of kavod. I don't think we'll cover more than that. It even goes further, where if somebody is makes certain sins, you have to look at them in a certain way. We'll see how much we cover today, but so far, we'll try to cover the money aspect of it. Now, The key, Rabotai, is that sometimes when we acquire things, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a certain car or house or whatever it is, certain privilege that He gave us, certain gift that He gave us. We forget ourselves. We forget who's the one that gave it to us. Sometimes we never even think that they gave it to us. And this is one of the critical mistakes that is putting that gift as a risk. Now, there was one time a guy that was learning every day became a Talmid Chacham. But this Talmid Chacham, unfortunately, did not learn Musar. So he learned a lot of halachot. You asked him a certain law, he'd tell you what it is and where it is. But as far as his behavior, it wasn't necessarily so great. How do we know? Because the story goes that every day he would leave early in the morning, go to the Bet Midrash to go learn. At the same time, his neighbor would go to work. Now this poor neighbor, he's going to work, he's not going to learn. But this guy, this Talmid Chacham, he's going to learn, he's having a good time. Now every day when they would meet, they would say hello. But despite the fact that the worker looks at Talmid Chacham with respect, wow, this is our future, this is our past, this is our present, this guy's going to learn Torah, in his mind, he had so much respect for him, because he says, I can't do it, I don't have enough emunah, I don't have enough bitachon, I don't have a lot of things, maybe I don't even have enough brain. I have to go work. But this guy, wow, every day you would admire him. Just looking at him, like, Boker Tov. You know, like you're happy to see the guy. Talmid Chacham that didn't learn Musar, on the other hand, didn't look the same way about this worker. This average guy, what do you say? This guy. He has no purpose in his world. Fool doesn't even know who Hashem is. Doesn't know nothing. He barely even knows how to put in tefillin. I saw him in the Beit Knesset put on tefillin. Safek if he's doing it the right way. The guy doesn't know any Mishnayot by heart. The guy doesn't know much. Purposeless life. And he frowns upon. The guy's keeping Torah mitzvah. He's not a Rasha. He's not a criminal. But this guy is looking at him as if he is. Why? Because he's not learning Torah like him. And every day as the Baal Habayit, the worker, admires the Talmid Chacham is frowning upon the Baal Habayit. As time would have it, eventually they both go to the Bet Din of Mala, the Bet Din of Shamayim, at the same time. And while the Talmid Chacham gets the surprise of his life, that even though he had a lot of Torah that he learned, is complete misuse of it, where he did not learn midot, he did not perfect his character trait, came back to haunt him, but at a place that he can't really do anything about it. The Gaon Mivina says that if you lived in this world and you did not fix your midot, there was no purpose to your life. That's a purposeless life. Why? You didn't do anything. What'd you do? You learned Torah, but you didn't actually fix yourself. You have a lot of money, but you didn't actually buy any Torah with it. What'd you do with your life? Nothing. Psst. No purpose to your life. In Shamayim, they said you are guilty. Even though you learned Torah, every time you frowned upon this person, that was a sin, and another sin, because he wasn't the only one you frowned upon, you have to go spend a little bit of time in Gehinom. The worker, on the other hand, even though he didn't learn as much Torah, because he valued Torah so much, he would give part of his money for Torah. He would give part of his money to help other people learn Torah. That made up for his lack of learning Torah to such an extent that every hour that he spent working was considered as if he spent it learning Torah. When a person gives maaser or chomesh, 10 or 20% of their gross salary for the sake of kiruv, for the sake of publicizing Torah, real Torah, not fake Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu now takes the entire 100% money that you acquired from working and turns it as if you learned Torah. Why? Because that's really what you're doing. You're working, yeah, you're buying stuff with it also. You're buying a house, you're buying a car, you're buying all kinds of stuff, but in reality, he's not telling you to spend all the money on Torah. He's telling you to spend a certain amount of money on Torah, depending again on how much you have. If you're a multi-millionaire, you have $100 million, then obviously you have to give a lot more than 10 or 20%. But if you're an average person, you have to give maaser. And if you do it for the sake of Torah because you honor the Torah, your job turns into as if you're learning Torah, Rabotai. So this is how critical it is to use your money effectively, but also to know that even if you are learning, you have to know that you have to perfect yourself. Learning by default is not enough. You have to work on your character traits. There are many Talmidim, there are many people that learn in yeshivot that may consider themselves, and maybe they're even considered by other people, as Talmidei Chachamim, but the Gemara calls them Reshaim. Why? Because they have bad midot, they have bad character traits. And the Gemara says, a Talmid Chacham with bad midot, nevela sucha tova mimenu. A dead animal in the middle of the street is better than him. And the reason why is because the Torah is the instructions of how to emulate God, how to act like Him, how to have good traits like Him. If you used the same Torah that's supposed to be to improve you, supposed to be used as an instruction manual to improve you, and you misuse it to such an extent where it actually made you worse, or you stayed the same, the dead animal has more use than you. Why? Because it's still going to be food for other creatures. It's still going to serve a certain purpose. You serve no purpose if you don't have good midot and you learn Torah. Now, the mitzvah of respecting the Torah, respecting Talmidei Chachamim, is not a suggestion. It's actually in the Torah. The book of Leviticus, Sefer Vayikra, chapter 19, verse 32, says, "Mipnei seva takum, ve'adarta pnei zaken, ve'yareta me'elohecha." Arise respectfully before the elderly, honor the presence of a scholar, and be in fear of your God. So here we see there's three parts, three mitzvot here. If you see an elderly, always assume that this elderly has more mitzvot than you. This elderly has more knowledge than you, more experience than you. You have to respect him. Standing up, to give a seat to an older person is not just good manners. It's mitzvah from the Torah. Secondly, if you're in the presence of a scholar, also stand. Also rise. Why? Because this is standing up for the Torah. If they take out the Sefer Torah from the Aron HaKodesh, everybody has to stand. Everybody has to stand. If a Ben Torah walks in, everybody has to stand. Now, lastly, be in fear of your God. What does fear of your God have to do with anything? It says that's the reason why you're doing the first two. That's the reason why you're doing all of the mitzvot. Because you have Yirat Shamayim. Now, when a person shows outward signs of respecting of the wise, respecting Talmidei Chachamim, he becomes inspired to emulate their example. That's what Sefer HaChinuch says. What's the source? It says the Midrash. The Midrash says that one of the sages, Rabbi Abba HaKohen, Rabbi Abba HaKohen was so humble that anytime he saw that there's a bunch of people sitting in a certain place, he would walk around so they don't see him. Why? He didn't want to bother them. He didn't want to bother them. He wanted to continue, he wanted to continue sitting down. If they're learning, they're doing stuff. He didn't want everybody to stand for him. Even though he's Gdol Adol, he didn't want them to stand for him, so he would go around and go somewhere else. But then, Rabbi Yossi, one of the Tanaim, rebuked him. He says, no, you see people there, they're sitting, dafka, you go there. Let them stand up. Why? Because when they see you and they stand up because you're a Torah scholar, that is also going to affect their heart. They're going to say, wow, I have to give so much kavod for the Torah. Look how much Torah he learned. Look, everybody else is standing up. And that's going to actually motivate them to do the same thing, to go learn Torah also. This is why one of the big Kiruv rabbis one time was asked, what about, sometimes you have lectures, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, big lectures in Eretz Yisrael. And, people in Eretz Yisrael, they, especially Sephardi's, they have a lot of kavod for Rabbanim. They see him, they kiss their hands, they, all types of things. And now, you have one guy kiss you, okay, no big deal. It depends who the guy is. But, nonetheless, you have 3,000 people want to kiss your hand, even if you like all of them. It's like, by the end of the day, you want to just, take the hand, let me go. So the guy interviewed him, says, listen, what's this whole thing about the kissing the hand? The rabbi tells him, he goes, tell you the truth, I hate it. I find it disgusting. I don't want people to kiss my hand. He goes, so why do you do it? He goes, it's for them, it's not for me. They want to give honor for the Torah, I am obligated to let them do it. Because that's their way of showing honor for the Torah. It has nothing to do with me. So this, Rabotai, is strange. It's strange to a culture today that spends a lot of time going after rabbis in a negative way. You see part of the world honors rabbis to the extent where they want to kiss their feet. And the other part is like, Mamash goes to war with rabbis. This one guy that was learning our shurim for a little while came here a few times. One time, he realized that he has to change his entire life. So he's a weak loser who did not want to change his life. He wanted to continue making every sin under the sun. So he decided to make all types of excuses of why he doesn't want to come to the shurim. Eventually he went back to his old ways and became Rasha Gamu. But that's not enough. Why? Because he knows that we still exist. He knows that other people are continuing to advance while he is going deteriorating back to Gehenom that he came from. So this bothers him. He does not. He can't live with the fact that this is the right thing to do and you should join it. Why? Because if he's not doing it, it cannot be the right thing to do. So what does he do? He sends me all types of messages, either threatening me or insulting me. Just because he wants to make himself feel good. These are sick people, unfortunately. But what does that show? That shows that even though he's sending all these despicable messages, he still knows it's the truth. Because if it was fake, why would it bother you? Why would it bother you to such an extent that you would have to spend a certain time out of your day making bad comments on the internet or putting a negative or telling people bad things? Like, why do you care so much? You don't care so much about the public, about anything else. It's not like you're helping all of the dead dogs that are lying in the streets. It's not like you're helping all of the homeless in Venezuela. It's not like you're helping all of the homeless in San Francisco. You're not helping anybody else in any other way. Why do you decide to become a public servant here with this? It means that you still know it's the truth, and it bothers you that you're not part of it because you're a loser. Plain and simple. But the point is, Rabotai Kareem, is that most of the time when people fall off, they don't necessarily always become Reshaim. They don't always necessarily go against the Torah. Few and far in between. So if they come back, you have to try your best to accept them and give them a chance. Why? Because just like you asked the Kadosh Baruch Hu for 1.5 million chances, you have to also give people chances. Couple of times we had people that did it, and despite the headaches that they gave us, they came back. We made it seem as if it never happened. Why? That's the job. It's annoying. It takes a lot of strength and willpower. But when you realize who your boss is, you do what he says. Now, the sages teach us that when it comes to money, a person needs to understand very, very well where is the source of this money. Like, where is this money coming from? Meaning, who is giving him the money? And that's literally one of the ikarim. One of the ikarim that a person needs to recite every day. There are 10 remembrances. 10 things that a person must remember every day. That Hashem gave us the Torah in Mount Sinai, that He gave us the mitzvah of Shabbat, the manna bread that He gave us, food from heaven, that He, when Balak and Bilam wanted to curse Am Yisrael and kill them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned it into a blessing, and so on and so forth. But one of the karim, one of the main things that a person has to remember every single day is, where's your money coming from? You have to remember this. Because if you do not know where money comes from, you're bound to become a kufer gamur, with or without a kippah, with or without a kisui rosh. Now the sages teach us that when a person acknowledges that his money is a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it turns his wealth into literally a true divine blessing. Because not only does he have money, but he knows who gave it to him, which means he knows how to use it. He's going to know how to use it. If he doesn't know who gave it to him, if he thinks or she thinks she's the one that made it, that's going to make it very hard for them to use it the right way. And the reason why is because if he feels like he is the one that worked really hard for it, and someone comes to collect tzedakah, someone comes and says, listen, we need to raise $500,000, $1 million to order some CDs to help people stop wasting seed. We need to raise $10 million to open a yeshiva, a real yeshiva for everybody. And you happen to be a vessel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into the world that we can use to get 100,000, to get 200,000, to get $500,000 from. The guy says to himself, what do you mean? What, just because I have money you're coming to me? What makes you think that I'm the vessel? Maybe it's him, maybe it's her. Why do you think I am? Reason why? Because you have money. That makes you a vessel. You can choose not to be the vessel. You can choose to say no. But that means that you don't know where the money came from. Now, it's only when a person sees that his gain, his entire income, is a product of his own doing, that his money turns into a curse and literally becomes toxic. The Midrash Rabbah, Parashat Bamidbar, says that literally a person's income can either be a blessing where you literally see a Kadosh Baruch Hu, feel a Kadosh Baruch Hu 24 hours a day, even if you're not in the Bet Midrash. Or it's mamash being a soldier of the Satan himself because of the same money. Now, about 800 years ago, there was a Chacham that wrote Ma'alot Amidot, Rabbi Yechiel HaRofeh. And he writes that somebody asked him one time, how come that we see that there's a lot of Chachamim, they look to befriend the rich people, the wealthy people. But the wealthy people never usually look for any Chacham to be friends with. How come? So Rabbi Yechiel HaRofeh says that's because the Chachamim, they appreciate the true value of wealth. They know where it came from, they know how to use it, they know that in essence for him to give, he's really receiving. He can buy his Olam Haba with this money, or he can buy not in such a good place. They understand the true value of money. They understand that Hashem gifted him something, and they're trying to help him use it. Even though it's also helping themselves, but they know they're going to get the money regardless. The wealthy, on the other hand, do not appreciate the value of wisdom. While the wise appreciate the value of wealth, the wealthy do not appreciate the value of wisdom. Now, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi HaKadosh, the Gemara in Masechet Reuven, page 86a, says that they would give a lot of kavod to rich people. Now, the commentaries say, obviously we're not allowed to give, to be khanfanim, to be kiss-ups. So you cannot even imagine in your wildest dreams that Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, were kissing up to people. So the commentary says, where do we learn from here? We learn from here that actually if you learn the Gemara, you're going to get to a point where you start seeing that Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi HaKadosh, they themselves were very rich. So they didn't need the money of the rich people. When Rabbi would have a mitzvah, okay, we need to raise $10 million for Bezrat Hashem, to open a yeshiva in Florida. We need to raise $1 million for this. We need to do that, all types of things. He had all the money. He had hundreds and hundreds of horses and buildings and all types. He was a multi-billionaire, not millionaire. He didn't need any help with any money. But he would call all of his rich friends and say, you want a piece of this mitzvah? You want $1 million? You want $1 million? Okay, you got it. Auction. Whoever bids more, you're gonna get to be able to be part of this mitzvah. Why? To give you some merits, to give you some schuyot. You have some money, but that's not worth anything in Shemayim, unless you buy mitzvot with it. So why would Rabbi and Rabbi Akiva, who were both very, very rich, give so much kavod to rich people? Because their humility was so extraordinary that when they themselves, when Rabbi Akadosh and Rabbi Akiva would walk around and the rich people would give them honor, oh, kvod harav, kiss their hands, kiss this. They thought, no, they're not giving me any kavod because of the Torah knowledge. I don't know anything. What do I know? They give me respect because I'm also rich like them. Not because of any Torah knowledge. That's how humble they were. They knew where the money came from. They knew how to use it. Now, on the other hand, a person is not allowed to hide his wealth. The Gemara says that there was a young man by the name of Bunyas ben Bunyas. And he walked into the Bet Midrash with just regular clothes. And he learned a little bit. And Rabbi HaKadosh recognized him. Says, who are you? He says, I'm Bunyas ben Bunyas. He goes, oh, your father is a tycoon. He says, yeah, my father has... He says, then please tell him that Rabbi says that he failed miserably in dressing his son appropriately. Why? You're not allowed, if you are rich, you're not allowed to look like an average person. You have to look rich. Now, I don't mean you're going to go to Gucci and go buy a bunch of immodest clothes and look like one of these Toivat Hashem people that are on television. You need to look rich. If you have literally millions of dollars, you cannot go to Gap and buy a suit for $100. You got to buy a respectable suit. Why? People need to know you're rich. Why people need to know you're rich? Because you're the vessel. You are the vessel. We need to know who and what is the vessel. Why? Because when we have a yeshiva to open, when we have certain sponsorships that need somebody to help, we need to know how to identify you. Now today, it's very difficult to identify who's rich. Because many of the rich people, for example, Shem Yachem in like Hollywood type of places, you see some of these rich people, and I've met some of them, literally, if you didn't recognize their face from some screen, you think they're homeless. We literally would sit down on a table, and there would be at least $1 million or $2 million on the table, played cards and stuff like that. Everybody had a bunch of money. 9 people, 5 people, 3 people, tons and tons of money, piles of money. Every single person, one next to the other, looks like he's going to go beg for change outside. Literally, people wear these ripped shirts, ripped pants. Their hair is like this. They look like they just woke up. Some of them are wearing sweatpants like it's pajamas. Looks like he hasn't taken a shower in at least 3 months. So you can't tell where'd you get who would you rob? But then you start talking to the guy. Oh yeah, I founded some biotechnology company. Yeah, we sold it to Pfizer for $300 million. With $300 million, maybe you should buy yourself a new pair of pants, suit, something. You can afford it. No, you spent it all. Maybe I'll give you some money. You go buy it. People look homeless today. They don't know how to dress. They buy shirts. Now, it's not that the clothes is cheap. They go to places and they'll buy a $400 or $500 T-shirt. A T-shirt that you literally can buy from the flea market for $2 for $10. Two of them for $10. They'll buy for $500. Why? Because it has Gucci on it or some other brand that some sick person from Paris decided to make it $800. It's unbelievable what people pay for sneakers, for T-shirts, for jeans. One guy I know has a collection of maybe like 400 or 500 pairs of jeans worth over $250,000. I mean, to me, that simply sounds like a very sick person. But you know how many of these sick people there are in the world today? Some of the guys that worked for me would tell me, yeah, I got a shoe collection. I'm already at 300 pairs of sneakers. I said, why do you have so many sneakers? You can't wear them. He goes, no, I don't wear any of them. I just wear 1 or 2 pairs. I said, so what do you do with them? He goes, I collect them. Collect sneakers. Every day you just wake up and you think you're in a dream. But this is what's happening. This is already 15 years ago. I can imagine that today it's much worse. The point is, Rabotai Yekarim, is that a person needs to look a certain way. If you always have to look respectable. Someone asked me just a day or two ago, is it okay to wear an expensive suit? The answer is, if that expensive suit is a respectable way to look, then absolutely, if it fits you, meaning if you're wealthy, no problem. If you're broke and you spent your life savings on a $1,500 suit, there's something wrong with you. And that suit may actually be a tool for you to con people, so it's not exactly a good idea also. I'm not saying wear a garbage bag, but look the part. On the other hand, if that suit, whether it's expensive or cheap, is one of these feminine-looking suits that literally makes you look like a girl in guys' clothing, then it's not allowed regardless of whether it's expensive or not. Because I know that some of these suits that people wear, they're $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. But even if it's free, you're not allowed to wear it. Because they're so immodest. They're so tight on the person. And they will look a certain way. And he's like, what happened? What happened to Am Yisrael? What happened to Am Yisrael? What? This is the hip way. What hip? What's hip about it? I could see the shape of your hips. That's the only thing that's hip about it. You have to look respectable. Respectable means something that's classic, something that's timeless. And it has to look the part. You have to look the part. Now, the reason why a rich person is not allowed to look like he's homeless is because of the same reason why a Talmid Chacham is not allowed to be too humble. Meaning, he has to be humble, but there's a time and place for everything. If, let's say, for example, there's a shiur program, and the rabbi called it off, he can't make it. Now, there's already a crowd, there's already 50, 500, 1,000 people, whatever it is, but the speaker doesn't show up. If you know Torah, this is not the time to be humble. Stand up, start teaching. Stand up, start teaching. Why? All of these people came here to learn Torah. This is not the time to pretend like you don't know anything. Start teaching people. You're not allowed to hide your knowledge. Same concept if somebody asks you an halakha. You know the answer. Answer the question, unless the rabbi is there. If the rabbi is there, you're not allowed to answer. But if no one else is there, don't pretend like you don't know anything. There's a time and a place for everything. So just like the scholar in his humility may not avoid his duty to teach and to define questions of Torah law, so too humility is inappropriate for the rich man if he's let other people to deny his role as a financial backbone of the Jewish community. Now, the Arav Hirsch, in the Sefer Horeb, page 427, says, once you've pondered upon the thought that you are nothing so long as you exist only for yourself, and that you only become something when you mean something to others, and that you only possess something when you share it with other people, and that even the penny in your pocket is not yours but only becomes so when you spend it for a blessed purpose, then you will rejoice in the great task to which God has called you. He's teaching us one of the critical lessons of money management. If you want to have your money turn into a blessing, start sharing it. Start sharing it. But share it because you want to share it, because you realize that's the purpose of it. Don't save for 8,000 rainy days. If there's a cause, use your money to do it. A lot of people save money and save money and save money and die and give all that savings to somebody else. They never actually use up their money. They save, and then somebody else ends up getting the entire benefit. They die with a bunch of savings. You only become meaningful in this world. The money only becomes yours when you give it to others, when you use it to publicize Torah, when you help people with that money. If all the money that you have is simply for you to accumulate, it's not only is the money meaningless, but you become yourself meaningless. Now, Rabbi Akiva would constantly have debates with this heretic called Tonas Trophus. And Tonas Trophus asked him a bunch of very difficult questions that the average person wouldn't have the answer for. One time, he asked him, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves Am Yisrael so much, why does he make poor people? Like people ask all the time, if Hashem is so good, why did he make the Holocaust? And people use that as a pretext, excuse, that that's the reason they don't believe in God. Or that's the reason they don't keep mitzvot, which is complete nonsense. If you actually understood what the Torah says, you would know that not only did God make the Holocaust, but he had all the reasons in the world to do even worse. Shem Yerachem. So Tonas Trophus asked Rabbi Akiva, if Hashem loves Am Yisrael so much, why does he make poor people? And Rabbi Akiva says, in order to save the rich people from Gehinnom. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes poor people. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to have rules in the world. He has certain people in the world. He cannot make everybody rich because then money would have no value. He cannot make everybody poor because then again, money would have no value. He has to have a balance. But that balance has more of a purpose than just poor or rich. Because sometimes a rich person is going to be so busy managing his wealth, he's not going to be able to learn as much Torah as he's really should. He's not going to be able to acquire as much Torah as the person with less responsibilities, with less money. He gets emails and text messages all the way into the late night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He's still getting messages because he has so many things, so many moving parts, so many companies, so many employees, so many customers. It's hard for him to get a solid hour or two to learn Torah. Beyond that, it's a miracle already. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees, wait a minute, he has money. So how am I going to get this guy that I gave him money, how am I going to get him to Gan Eden? I'm going to send him poor people. I'm going to send him good Torah organizations to ask him for money. Why? Because that way his work becomes blessed. Because now if I leave him alone, nobody comes to him to ask for money. No poor people comes to him to ask for money. No organization comes to ask for money. This guy's for sure going to Gehinnom and he's not coming out. Why? He's not going to know enough Torah. He's not going to fulfill enough mitzvot. He's not going to be around religious people because all the other rich people, most of them are not even Jewish. Some of them are Jewish but they don't keep, and so on and so forth. Point is, this guy is doomed. From what? From a gift that Hashem gave him. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try to save him. How? I'm going to send him all types of Torah organizations, all types of poor people. They're going to ask him for money to give him the opportunity to get himself connected to Torah in another way. To get him connected to the Torah in such a way that he's going to be the backbone of the Torah. He's going to be financing the yeshiva. He's going to be financing the kollel. He's going to be financing all of these CDs and kiruv and tshuva and so on. He's going to do all that. I'm going to use him for that. So in essence, when the poor person or the Torah organization comes to the rich guy and asks him for money, they say, thank you for helping us, for giving us for the yeshiva. But in reality, the rich person should say even a bigger thank you. Why? Because the poor guy would have gotten it anyway. Hashem would have sent a different vessel. The rich guy may not have had another opportunity though. Which means that the rich guy was literally saved by the poor one. So Rabbi Akiva says, Hashem makes poor people because he uses them as a tool for the sake of the rich. Because they can handle the test of being poor, but at the same token, we need them in the world in order to save the rich. Now, the issue of respecting somebody that's rich, again, is only permissible if you understand where the money comes from. But sometimes people get a certain amount of wealth or a certain amount of wisdom and they lose themselves. There's a famous story of Rabbi Akiva Eagle. Rabbi Akiva Eagle, lived in a couple of 100 years ago in days where they didn't have Facebook and pictures everywhere and so on. So sometimes you would go to certain places, people didn't even know who he was. They didn't know this is the biggest rabbi in the world. Now Rabbi Akiva Eagle one time went for Yom Kippur, went to a different community, and no one knew who he was. Now, he wanted to sit next to someone that has Yirat Shamayim, but he doesn't know anybody. It's because he wants to sit next to one praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Yom Kippur, or doing tshuva on Yom Kippur, next to somebody that maybe he's going to also cry to Hashem, motivate each other. You see him crying, that makes you cry. He sees you cry, he cries more, and so on. You want somebody that's a good person. You don't want somebody that's thinking about his work on Yom Kippur. So on Friday, on Mincha of Yom Kippur, the eve, right before Yom Kippur starts, he's sitting in the Beit Knesset. He looks around, he sees this older guy praying Mincha with everybody else. And everybody else is okay. Yom Kippur didn't hit it, hasn't started yet. But he sees this one guy praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when it gets to the part of the tefillah, it says, "V'nafshi ke'afar tiyeh," my soul will be like dust. This guy starts bawling, just mamash, crying hysterical. Crying, "Oh Hashem, my soul is dust, dust, dust. It's nothing, I'm nothing." Rabbi Akiva Eagle says to the Gabbai, "I want to sit next to him. Please. I want to sit next to him for Yom Kippur." He says, "No problem." So, as you would have it, they pray that night. The next morning, they come back for Shachrit. And it gets to the part where they give people the aliyot to the Torah. They take out the Sefer Torah, and they give aliyot. And the Gabbai comes to this guy that cried yesterday, the older man, comes to him and goes, "Kvodo, here, aliyah for you. Number 5. You're the 5th aliyah." Give him aliyah, Yom Kippur. Shtabach Shemo, it's great. Instead of "thank you very much, Chazak Baruch," the old man stands up and says, "Ta lo mitbayesh, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're giving me 5th aliyah? Me, you zero that you are, you're giving me number 5? Instead of the 3rd aliyah, instead of the 6th aliyah, you're giving me a 5? Do you know who I am? Do you know how yeshiva I run? You know how much Torah I know, you zero that you are, you nothing that you are? Do you even understand what Torah is, bichlal? Do you know how much I know?" And he embarrasses the guy, mamash murders him in public. The entire kehillah is like, shh, 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 but no one knows what to do. The Gabbai is quiet. As a side note, if you ever see someone embarrass another person in public and that person doesn't respond, go to the person that didn't respond, ask him for a blessing. Because at that moment he's holding up the entire world. Va'olam omed al blima. From Sefer Yov, HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Yov, and Yov says, where's the on what the world is standing on? Hashem says it stands on nothing, meaning, on what's nothing? On someone that does not respond when other people mock him, make fun of him, insult him, and so on. Because now you're acting like Hashem. People mock Hashem, make fun of Hashem all day, all night. But Hashem doesn't respond right away. Sometimes he'll let the person live another 20, 30, 40 years. Give the person opportunity to do tshuva. That's why Rabbi Yisrael Misalant says that people are not going to recognize Hashem when they get up to Shamayim. Why? Because over here, all you know is the version of Hashem that's chesed, kindness. You say bad things about Hashem, you say stupid things about Hashem, Hashem gives you more time. You don't lose any breath. Nothing. You say something dumb, some form of kfirah, some form of insult against the King of Kings, Hashem sits there quietly, allows you to continue breathing, allows you to continue doing good things. You yell at Hashem sometimes. Hashem, what are you doing? Like as if He works for you. Hashem says nothing. He lets you go. Go ahead. Motek, my son, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Nothing. You're living. Next day you kind of feel bad, but not so really, not so much. You forgot you even said what you said. Hashem gives you an opportunity. Rabbi Yisrael Misalant says, when you arrive at Shamayim, you're not going to recognize Hashem. Because over there, there's no kindness. There's only din. There's judgment. Why? That's the time you have to pay the bill. You did good, Hashem will pay you forever. Pay you forever. You did bad, He'll also pay you forever, just a different currency. Because over there it's judgment. No more time to do tshuva. There's no tshuva in Shamayim. So now back to our story. The old man embarrasses that Gabbai despite getting an aliyah. After the whole thing is done, Rabbi Akiva Iger walks up to the old man. He's sitting next to him. He goes, but I wanted to ask you something. One thing, I know what happened. Listen, yesterday, when you got up to this section, V'nafshi ke'afar tiyeh, that my soul will be nothing. My soul is nothing. You are crying hysterical. What's the pshat? Like, and now you embarrass this person? So the old man says, what's complicated here? When I say to Hashem, Hashem, I'm nothing, it's only because I'm comparing myself to Hashem. In front of Hashem, I'm nothing. But next to this loser, this zero, I'm everything. He's a nothing, this guy. Rabbi Akiva Iger says, you just solve a complication for me that I had on a pasuk in the Torah, in Sefer Bamidbar, in chapter 12, it says, V'aish Moshe anav meod mikol ha'adam asher al pnei ha'adama. Now the man Moshe Rabbeinu, was exceedingly humble, more than any person on the face of the earth. So I always asked, what does it mean? If he says that Moshe Rabbeinu is humble, just say, V'aish Moshe, anav meod, he's very humble. Why does Hashem add these extra few words? You know, Hashem is very cautious with the words that He used in the Torah. He's very precise with them. He doesn't add an extra word. Why does Hashem add that Moshe Rabbeinu is not only humble, but he's humble more than anyone on this earth? On the face of the earth. So Rabbi Akiva Iger says, because what is it saying here? You can say a person says, no, I'm really humble. Who is he comparing himself to? To Hashem. Oh, no, I'm really humble. I'm nothing. Who is he nothing next to? He's comparing himself to Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, of course you're nothing next to Rabbi Akiva. Everybody's nothing next to Rabbi Akiva. That's not humility. That's a reality. It's like somebody saying, no, I'm really weak. Yeah, he's comparing himself next to, Hulk or something. Yeah, everybody's weak next to the Hulk. That's not humility, that's a reality. But Moshe Rabbeinu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself writes that Moshe Rabbeinu is the humblest person on the face of the planet, meaning what? Whether it's someone that's before him that lived in the past, or someone that's going to live in the future, or someone that's alive right now. He's more humble than anyone out there. In what way? In a way that no matter what, Moshe Rabbeinu was able to see the spark, the light, the good that someone else had that he didn't. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't delusional. He knew he was a genius. He knew he was holy. He knew he was rich. He wasn't delirious. He knew that he had a lot of money. He knew that he was the leader. He knew that he's the only one that talks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu face to face. But every time he would look at someone, he wouldn't compete with those things. Oh no, he's a better prophet than me. It's not possible that he's a better prophet than you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself says, no one's going to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. He's not comparing that. He's comparing something else. He says, oh, see, his eyes are green. He has prettier eyes than me. He has less anger than me. He's happier than me. His teeth are nicer than mine. You will look at whatever. And anyone else, even if someone had tzarat, even if someone had the disease, the spiritual and physical disease that required the person to be thrown out of the camp. And if the disease did not heal itself, Hashem Yerachem would happen to the person. They would literally, pieces of their body would start falling apart. All of a sudden the guy's walking, finger falls off. A few more steps, another finger. A few more steps, the toe is missing. A few more, pieces of his body would just fall off. All of a sudden his whole hair turns into a wig. Maybe he could sell it. The whole thing comes off, but you could only see the brain after that. Piece by piece his body would fall off. That's tzarat. Horrendous. What's the cure? Tshuva. No doctor can cure it. When Moshe Rabbeinu would look at this person, he'd say, wow, look at him. He's about to do tshuva. He's about to do tshuva. I still have to do tshuva. He'd still look at this person as he is better than me. Why? Because he is closer to doing tshuva because he has this thing. Now what does the Torah say about somebody that does tshuva? Someone that does tshuva, even tzaddikim gmurim cannot get to his level. That's anava. Anava is not thinking of yourself as a loser. Humility is not thinking of yourself as a loser. Humility is understanding your own deficiencies while at the same time seeing the good qualities in other people. What we usually do is we understand everybody else's deficiencies. And we're delirious about our own. And we exaggerate our good ones. Everybody has got a good one. But that's all we talk about. We talk about all the good things we did. We don't talk about the bad stuff. But everybody else, oh yeah, this guy's a rasha. What rasha? Yeah, I heard him. I saw him yell at his wife. Oh, you never yelled at your wife? No, not like that. No, you never? No, sure. Neighbors didn't call the cops on you 5, 6, 7 times because of how you yell when you yell? Yeah, but that was, a long time ago. 6, 7, 8 months ago? Long time ago. Yeah, but that was like yesterday. This guy, what, you're making me into a rasha? What? No, you're against me? You're for him? No, it has nothing to do with it. Stop judging other people. Stop judging other people. Look, he has something good about him. You have something bad about you. That's humility. That's humility. Now the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim says, anyone who knows that his friend has a single trait that's better than him must act with honor towards him. You have a friend. You spend a little time with him. You spend a little time with her. You know that there's at least one thing that this person has better than you. If you don't, then your gava, your ego is bigger than this room. You should get it a different room at least. Pay rent for 2 houses. But every person, you can see that there's something that's better about them than you. Every person. Especially if you spend a lot of time with this person. Now, the Gemara says, if you know that this friend of yours has a single trait that's better than you, you now have to give this person kavod. Which means that you pretty much have to give everybody kavod. Now, we're not talking about some Rasha, Machtia Rabim, missionary, anti-Torah, lefty, liberal, Zionist, terrible human being that we can't wait for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remove him from the world. Not talking about that. I'm talking about normal people. Normal people, regular people. Religious or not is not necessarily as critical in this aspect of it, because many people are not religious purely because of ignorance, not because they're anti-God. So you can't just say, oh, everybody that's a Mechalel Shabbat, that's my enemy, I hate him, I'm going to kill him, he's the worst person. Take it easy. You used to be Mechalel Shabbat also. You may actually still be Mechalel Shabbat, because you don't know all the halachot Shabbat. Take it easy. Stop judging everyone for their deficiencies. Look at your own deficiencies also. Point being is, does he have anything good? Does she have anything good? Okay, look at that. Someone sent me a message the other day. Some random shiur of some woman says, listen, I don't think that this woman should be called Rabbanit, because I had a situation with her, and she's definitely not a Rabbanit. Now, don't get me wrong, we're still really good friends, and I'm on good terms with her now. I just don't think she should be called Rabbanit. I didn't respond to this because the response wouldn't have actually helped the situation. Number one, what do you think, I'm the police force of people that call themselves Rabbi or Rabbanit? Second of all, that's Lashon Hara and Rechilut. Third of all, with friends like you, who needs enemies? But people love to find the deficiencies in somebody else, and they hate it when that person is being given respect by other people. They hate to see other people winning. And that's because they have a very limited mentality, a limited mind. This is very common in the business world, because the vast majority of people in the business world have zero, and I literally mean zero emunah. As soon as a competitor opens a store or an office anywhere near the vicinity of their world, already they start worrying. As soon as they see an opportunity to steal from a hand that fed them, they take it. Why? They feel like they're entitled to it. What? I worked for him for 15 years. So what if I steal all of his customers? I helped him build them in the first place. No, you helped him get some customers because he paid you for it. He bought that service from you. He didn't build his business. He paid for you to do it. He would have paid somebody else to do it also. But people feel entitled to their work. They want to leave the company with everything they did. And this happens very often. Or better yet, people like to talk bad about their competitors. I had one time a client of mine call me, and he says, listen, I just spoke to your teacher. I didn't have any teachers, at least not in the business world. I said, yeah, what did he say? He said, no, he says he taught you everything, and all the stock picks that you have came from him, and all the money that we made is because of him. So I said, what's my teacher's name? Just so I know. He goes, Bernard. I said, Bernard, I don't know Bernard. He goes, what do you mean? He's your teacher. How do you know his name? I said, because I don't really actually have a teacher. I just wanted to know who's this person. That's what wonderful things he says. And I said, okay, who's this Bernard? And he gives me the last name. I said, oh, that kid, he was an intern. He just got his license 6 months ago. I've been in the business for 15 years. How is he my teacher? So the guy was shocked. He goes, what do you mean? He's lying to me? I said, yeah, welcome to the world. He goes, yeah, you send me documentation to transfer all my accounts. I figured if he's your teacher, I might as well, maybe I'll make more money with him. I said, yeah, he's an intern. He just got his license 6 months ago. Everything he's learning, I already forgot from 16 years ago. But people lie. Why? Because people are foolish and people take advantage of it. Now, he could have simply said, listen, I know him, but you can still do business with me. And most likely, he would have actually got the business. But no. He figured that in order for him to get the business, he has to kill the competition. is to kill the competition. This is a wrong mentality. This is a limited world mentality. Many times people hate to hear the success of someone they know. They don't mind hearing about the success of people they don't know. If they hear that some baseball player or basketball player or movie star got a contract for 30, 40, 50 million dollars, they're like, wow, amazing. They can't stop talking about it, which, as I said many times, is talking about other people's money is the lowest form of conversation. It simply means that in your head is like a mouse. There's no brain. You have zero wisdom if you talk about other people's money. There's no purpose. But people love to do it. But if he heard that his childhood's friend or his brother or sister or someone else, his classmate, got that money, all of a sudden venom comes out of their mouth. What? You heard Steve got that house, $5 million house? You see how he got it? Probably stole it. Well, who did he steal? Who did he rob it from? Why? Why do you assume that he robbed it? Why do you hate so much? This comes from a limited world mentality. People feel that if he wins, I lose. As if there's a limited amount of money in the world, a limited amount of reward in the world, a limited amount of customers in the world, a limited amount of good in the world. That if he took good, that made it less available for me. Americans are very well known for that, especially ignorant ones, that think that the immigrants are stealing the jobs. People that are anti-immigration. Oh, all of these immigrants are stealing our jobs. It's complete nonsense. No immigrant is stealing anybody's job. Same thing when people complain about the racial wars. Oh, why do black people get extra this? Why do white people get extra this? It's all complete nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. First of all, immigrants do a bunch of jobs that Americans are simply not willing to do. Bottom line. You're not willing to do it. Number one, because you want better treatment. Number two, because you want more money. Second thing is, there's an endless amount of jobs available that people don't want to do, period. Even if they are good jobs. Why? Because it's beneath them. It's beneath them. A bunch of young guys and young girls ask me for work advice. Number one work advice, get a job. Get a job. That's the number one work advice. Yeah, but I want to do this, this, and this. Okay, until you get the opportunity to do this, this, and this, do anything else that's legal and appropriate for a Jew. Get a job. That's job advice, number one. From someone that's worked in pretty much everything. I had newspaper routes. I worked in clothing stores, in flea markets, in the freezing cold with snow on top of me. Sold electronics, all types of things. Get a job. If either go to Kollel, work work for Hashem, or get a job. That's number one advice. People, no. I'll never work for that company. No, I would never bring myself so down. They want to leave. They want to get a first job making $100,000 a year. First, make $26,000. Make $500 a week. Then we'll talk. Then you can talk about, where are you going? Where are you going with this? No, what? I'm going to get coffee for people all day. You know, I got a degree. Okay, take that degree, put it on the wall, go get coffee. Maybe you can use some of the money that you get from giving people coffee to get you a frame for your degree. What degree? What do you think your degree? Think your degree is worth anything? I had Harvard graduates give me coffee. And I'd yell at them, we didn't put the sugar. Why? Because that's what the degree's worth. Nothing. You know what's worth a lot? Work ethics. Hard work. Honesty. Integrity. Longevity. A bunch of words that people don't even know anymore. 10 people are looking it up in a dictionary. Google, define longevity. How do you spell longevity again? Spell check, longevity. Persistence. Wow, it's synonymous with non-existence. Extinct, like the dinosaurs. Get a job. That's advice. That's advice for people. But even more than that, Rabotai Karim, don't think that the world is limited. Don't think the world is limited. The world is not limited. If he's winning, if she's winning, that does not mean that it's at your cost. Now, if you see that other people are winning, you see that other people are succeeding, be happy for them. Have a good eye. We had a whole shiur about this, maybe even two, during the series about Musar Pirkei Avot, having a good eye versus having an evil eye. Now, when a person understands where the money is coming from, it becomes much, much easier. Much easier to have a good eye. Because you know that simply this is just the decision of a Kadosh Baruch Hu to give this person money. Now, even more so, when a person understands the value of humility and seeing the good and bad in yourself and the good and bad in others, but focusing on the right things at the right time. If you're giving somebody musar, you're trying to teach them, you're not going to tell them, give them advice on all the good stuff. If they're already an expert in anger, they never get angry. They're simply cold as ice. You could yell at them in their, in daylight, in front of everyone. They're like, oh, okay, you upset? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like that. Don't give them a shiur about anger. It's a waste of time. You should compliment them that they have such great midot, they don't get angry, good for them. But give them musar on something that they're weak. But if it's just if they're asking for help, they're asking for guidance, they're depressed about something, they're upset about something, then obviously you have to remind them of their good qualities. Listen, yeah, I understand, you're having a tough time, but remember, you are this and you are that, and give them a bunch of compliments. Don't be in such a hurry to bring people lower than what they already are. This requires anava. This requires humility. And like I said, humility is not necessarily just the way that you look at yourself. Humility is the way that you look at other people. Now, another reason that a person needs to honor the wealthy is because the wealthy can bring much good to the people, because when they don't bring good to the people, they end up bringing evil on themselves and end up being persecuted in Shamayim, or prosecuted in Shamayim, for destroying Torah. If a Kadosh Baruch Hu gave you a certain amount of money, and instead of building yeshivot, you build houses that you're not going to even live in. You have 26 houses, and not even a single yeshiva. The person's going to go up to Shamayim, and they're going to rip them to shreds, because each one of those houses could have been a yeshiva. That means you could have had literally trillions and trillions of mitzvot, trillions and trillions of hours and minutes of people honoring HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but instead, what you have? You had a piece of land for the cleaning people to clean every so often. For you to go there once a year, maybe. And a person that has a lot of money but does not use it for the sake of Torah, it gets prosecuted for it. Now, on the other hand, what if a person doesn't have money or doesn't have wisdom? You still have to be humble to the extent where you have to honor them anyway. Why? Because you always have to remember that each person is judged based on his own abilities. You're not judged on things that you don't have the ability to do. If you have a lot of money, you'll be judged based on how much money you had. But if you're broke, like the average person that I know, then you'll be judged like a broke person. If your income is pretty much barely enough to put food into your mouth, then guess what? Hashem will judge you based on what you put in your mouth, not based on your tzedakah that you give, because you don't have any tzedakah to give. What did you actually eat? Did you do bracha on that? When you did have money once in a while, when your grandmother gave you an inheritance of $5,000, What'd you do with it? Did you at least use some money for Torah, or you just went to Disneyland and paid for a few of your friends like you're the new Rockefeller in the street? What'd you do? When you did have money a few times, what did you do with the money? Did you use it for Torah or no? Same thing is with a foolish person versus a smart person. If a person is smart, he gets judged based on the wisdom. Meaning that if he uses his wisdom just simply to remember the phone book by heart, he uses his wisdom to simply do all types of scientific models of outer space because he likes to make videos on YouTube and Facebook and get likes and to make people even more confused than what they already are. They don't know anything about Earth, but he wants to take them to outer space. Instead of using his wisdom on learning Torah, on teaching others, on teaching himself, his family, his community, he used his brain for a bunch of other things. He'll get prosecuted for it. On the other hand, if Hashem didn't make him the sharpest tool in the shed, he'll judge him for that. Okay, so with what you had, did you do what you were supposed to? Rabbi Israel Misalant one time was sobbing in his room, and a couple of Talmidim walked in. It's like, for the Rav, you okay? Were you depressed? He goes, Chas v'shalom, depression. Ma pitom. That doesn't happen to people that are in the Torah world. He said to him, so what's wrong? He says, because I know in Shamayim, they're telling me that I have the power of 1,000 men. Rabbi Yisrael Misalant restarted the Musar movement. His Talmidim, if you just simply learn a little bit about his Talmidim, they might as well be Malachei Sharet. The type of people that were his Talmidim, and the Talmidim of his Talmidim. These people might as well be angels walking among men. Imagine him. He says, I know in Shemaim they're judging me and telling me I have the power to do the job of 1,000 men, and I know it's right. I have the strength. I have the power to do it. Build yeshivot, kollel, bet midrash, mosdot, this, that, the other thing. I can do it, no problem. I'm only worried, what if they judge me also for the mitzvot of 1,000 men? The Torah learning of 1,000 men. For that I cry. When a person is gifted a talent or money, wisdom or whatever it is, it's a responsibility. So when a person sees that another person has a lot of money, or they themselves have a lot of money or a lot of wisdom, they also have to know there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with it. Now, Rav Steinemann was Alav Shalom, was one of the greatest Anshe Emet in any generation, let alone in his own generation. And he had a lot of haters. And a lot of lovers too. But no one can say that he was a liar. He was Emet to the end. One time, some people came to him and said, Kvod Rav, we just got this wealthy guy to donate $3 million. Not 3 million shekels, $3 million to the Mosdot of the Rav, to the Yeshivot of the Rabbi. So if the Rav could please write a letter, handwritten letter, thanking the guy. Rav Steinman says, no problem, tell me what to write. Says, thank you, all types of different descriptions. The tzaddik, this, that, okay, he's writing. And the last sentence was, and surely, whoever takes care of the children of Hashem, then Hashem will surely take care of his children. End the letter with that. Rav Steinman put the pen down. He's 90 years old. Puts the pen down. He goes, no, I'm sorry, I cannot write that. What? Why not? The guy just donated, for the Rabbi, he just donated $3 million to the yeshiva. That's not taking care of Hashem's children? And the rabbi says, no, it's not. Okay, for the Rav, please teach us. He says, this guy that just wrote a check for $3 million, how much money do you estimate that he has? You say he's a businessman, probably no less than $100 million. He says, exactly. So let's think about it. So he wrote a check for $3 million. That's 3% of what he has. What does any normal human being need $97 million for? What is he going to do with it? How much can he eat? How many cars can he have? How many houses can he have? He's not even giving maaser. It's not even 10% he's giving. He's giving 3%. That's not called taking care of Hashem's children and being worried about them. If he was giving 97 to Hashem's children and keep 3 million for himself, then I write whatever you want, because that is being worried about Hashem's children and that is taking care of Hashem's children. But here he's giving $3 million because he's taking care of himself. He's keeping the 97 for himself and for his other kids that he has and all the things that he wants, and he's giving $3 million for himself. He's not taking care of Hashem's children. Rabotai, very few people alive in his generation were able to write such a letter, to say such a thing, and even less today. And we're only talking about a few years ago. There are very few people that are that honest when it comes to money. And the reason why is because many people forget the 10 remembrances of what source is your money coming from. Where is it coming from? They think it came from the rich guy, not from God. They forgot it's God. The funny story that some of you saw, some of you didn't see. A few weeks ago, the landlord of the building in the Bet Knesset that we do a shiur in, I don't know what he was doing. Apparently he was bored. He ran out of money to count. So he decided to walk by our shiur and interrupted me in the middle of a shiur. And told me that he wants everyone to leave by 11 o'clock, even though he owns the building, not our life. He got confused, thought that by owning the building, he also owns our life. And he said, yeah, because the tow trucks are going to come, they're going to tow everybody that's still parked here. And I said, okay, thank you, with a smile, and I continued my shiur. He said, yeah, by 11 o'clock. I said, Be'ezrat Hashem, Be'ezrat Hashem. We continued till 11:45, I think it was. Paid no mind to it. Why? Hashem runs the world. Now, apparently, he was still bored. So he was still hanging around his own building at 11:45 at night. And he came by again, and he yelled at the guy that works there. And then I asked him, like, is everything okay? Why are you so angry? Did they end up towing all the cars? Did they end up towing all the cars? And he says to me, no, I stopped them. I said, Baruch Hashem. He goes, what? No, don't tell me Hashem. I stopped them. I said, no, Hashem stopped them. Hashem stopped him. Sadly, he had a kippah on. He was not only Jewish, he pretended to be religious. He actually thought he's the one that stopped the tow truck company from towing all the cars. Like he actually believes this in his heart. That's how sad life is for him. And this is, he called himself religious. He has a kippah and everything. You know, size of like a donut. Kind of looked like a donut. It was brown. I wanted to eat it. It looked delicious. 11 o'clock at night. I was hungry. Anyway, Rabotai Yekarim, people unfortunately forget who runs the world. Who runs the world? And they think that because they have a few dollars, they can do a lot of things that are forbidden. Now, the Ramban tells us that if I'm rich and he's poor, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. But more importantly, there's a deeper meaning of what you need to learn from it. Now the Pele Yoetz in a Kvod HaBriot says that if I'm rich and he's poor, then I'm considered sinning because I'm giving tzedakah based on whatever makes sense to me. And when the poor comes, I'm not giving him the honor. When in reality, when the poor man comes, I'm supposed to give him kavod, the poor guy. Why? Because it says, Ki emod le'amin neviyo, that Hashem is standing at the right side of the poor. As prophets. They're considered as prophets. Now, many times we deal with different people and we get confused in who and what they are because of money and because of certain things that they have, because of wisdom. So I'm going to give you a couple of stories to give you an understanding of what it takes to really be a Jew. Now, sometimes people tell me that they leave the derech, they leave Hashem because they're tired of doing such and such. And I ask them, what does such and such mean? And they'll tell me something. And 99% of the time, that something was not even halacha, was not even a law. It was a chumrah, it was a stringency. It was above and beyond the law. Most people that have a bad impression of Judaism, it's only because they took on more than they can handle. And this has been a problem in Chassidut for many years, but also in other parts of Judaism. So much so that at the time of the Baal Shem Tov, there was a Talmid Chacham that was known to be extremely stringent, especially on Baalei Tshuva. So anytime these Baalei Tshuva, they're trying to do Tshuva, they'll come to the rabbi and talk, Kvod Harav, I made a mistake, I did this and that. Oh, okay, you got to fast 350 times. 350 times, I'm going to die. You have to fast, then you have to roll in snow, then you have to give yourself skila, throw some rocks on yourself, torture yourself a little bit, and then hopefully Hashem's going to forgive you. Oh, this guy brushed his teeth the wrong way. Oh, okay, 30 times fast. All types of stringencies. One time a guy came to him, and the Baal Shem Tov heard about this, and he started watching. Who's this guy? What is he doing? And the guy came to this Talmid Chacham, and he told him, listen, Rabbi, I can't believe it, but I violated Shabbat by accident. Shogeg. Accidental sin. Not on purpose, Chas v'shalom. What should I do? So the Talmid Chacham tells him, the rabbi tells him, okay, well, minimum, you have to do 702 fasts. That's just the beginning. He says, Kvod Harav, 702 fasts? Where'd you get it? Why? He goes, that's the gematria of Shabbat. Shabbat, it's a 702. That's the beginning, though. After that, you got to walk on snow for a little while until you're pretty much your feet start bleeding, and you got to roll in it maybe, skila, this, that, and then hopefully Hashem's going to forgive you. The poor guy didn't know what to do with himself. He might as well just commit suicide. He runs to the Baal Shem Tov, and he cries to the Baal Shem Tov. He says, Kvod Harav, what am I going to do? I don't know. I can handle this. He says, you want to do tshuva? Crying, you want to do tshuva? He says, yeah, what should I do, Kvod Harav? He says, donate 1 box of candles for Shabbat. So the guy looks at the Baal Shem and goes, what? That's it. Just donate. You already said I'm sorry. You cried to Hashem. You didn't mean it. Just do a little tzedakah. Get a box of candles. Give it to one of the people that needs it. And that's it. You finished. What about this? He goes, I'll take care of that. The rabbi, what he said to you, I'll take care of it. So the Baal Shem Tov sent an invitation to this rabbi to come to visit him on Shabbat. So, of course, he heard about the Baal Shem Tov. And he says, sure, I'm going to go visit the Baal Shem Tov. We'll go spend Shabbat with him. He must have heard of me. I heard of him. Two Talmidei Chachamim. So he goes on his horses in the carriage and he starts going to the Baal Shem Tov's house on Friday afternoon, and he has to go through the forest. In the forest, if you don't know your way, you could simply die over there and no one would ever know. Because the forest is big. Some of these forests are huge. And he goes into the forest and he knows his way. But suddenly, he looks around and everything changed. He's been in this forest 1,000 times. But everything changed. And he starts getting lost. He doesn't know where he's going. And it's starting to get closer and closer to Shabbat. The sun's coming down. And he doesn't know what to do. And he's running around everywhere. Suddenly he sees the exit. As the sun is almost down, it's getting to a point where it's twilight. It's like Safek Shabbat, maybe yes, maybe no. It's those few minutes where you're not even sure what it is. Ben Hashmashot. He goes on his horse and he forces them because he's scared to be in the forest by himself because most likely you're not going to survive the night. And he goes and he gets to the Baal Shem Tov's house. But as soon as he gets into the house, he starts crying, Kvod Harav, I can't believe it. I violated Shabbat b'shogeg. What should I do? We're stuck in the forest. So the Baal Shem Tov looks at him and goes, well, okay, you could start with 702 fasts, just to start with it, 702 fasts. And after that, we'll do a little bit of tortures for you. Throw some rocks on you, roll you in some snow, make you walk in snow for a few miles a day. He goes, Kvod Harav, I'm not going to survive. Kvod Harav, I don't know what to do. He goes, oh, it's hard? Yeah, I would die. He goes, what about all those Baalei Tshuva that you tell them to do it every week? All these poor people, every week you tell them fast 30 times, 500 times, 1,000 times for an accidental sin. What about that? He says, listen, I made you get lost. I prayed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I made you get lost in the forest. The Baal Shem Tov literally had such power that people say whoever believes all of the stories about the Baal Shem Tov is crazy, but whoever doesn't is a kofir. Meaning, don't think that just because, let's say, the story didn't happen, that he couldn't do it. The point being, Abutai, is that literally the Baal Shem Tov tells him, listen, I made you, I prayed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to manipulate nature and get you lost in, to put you in the same situation as all of those poor people that you're torturing. Why? Because I want you to know what it feels like. I want you to know what it feels like. What is this like? There was one time a king, and the king had a son, 3-year-old son, and he wanted his son to be the next king. Now you can't just be the next king just like that. If you're a smart king, you want your son to learn how to be a king. You can't have him go to clubs all day, play video games, and he's going to be a king. They'll assassinate him in a week. So he gave him a teacher. Teach my kid all of the wisdoms. Teach him the geography and money issues and economic issues and all types of things. All of the wisdoms that are necessary. And this teacher was a wise man, and he started teaching him day and night, this kid, for the next 15 years. After 15 years, he tells the king, okay, I've taught him all of the wisdoms. The king is happy. Let's have a big celebration. They have a huge celebration. But right before the kid comes out, the teacher says to him, son, come with me. He goes into a room with him. 20 minutes later, the kid comes out crying, hysterical, with pain. He has scars, like he's got all marks everywhere, like he got mamash beat up. The king is looking at this, and he sees the kid's bleeding from his back. Lifts his shirt. He sees his whip marks everywhere. The king says to the teacher, you did this to my son. Because the teacher's holding the whip. He's not denying it. Because you did this to my son today? You did this to my son? Not only am I going to kill you, I'm going to cut you up piece at a time until you die. I'm going to give you what you did to my son, I'm going to do 1,000,000 times worse to you. And the teacher is smiling. So the king is, he's a wise king. He says, why are you smiling? He says, if your highness will allow me to explain, I'll explain. He says, go ahead. So you see, for the last 15 years, I've been teaching your son everything I know. All the wisdoms that are necessary to be a great king. But there was only one thing I couldn't teach him. You see, one day, he has the knowledge now to be a king. He knows all the things he needs to run the country, the economic issues, the poor people issues, the rich people issues, the food stuff, the agriculture, the war, all that stuff. He has that stuff. But there's one thing that he's going to have to do in the future that I couldn't teach him until now. He says, what is that? He says, see, one day the court is going to bring the people in front of him to judge. He's the king. He's the final law. And they're going to say, Your Highness, this guy stole 3 potatoes. And when you steal from somebody, they want to press charges till the end. They say, he stole 3 potatoes, we should whip him. We propose 500 whips. And the king will say, yeah, he stole. Guilty. You admit you're guilty? Okay, whip him 500 times. Okay, he stole half a potato. Okay, 200 whips. He went to the place he's not allowed to. Okay, 400 whips, 500 whips. And he's just going to say yes. So you see, in order for him to be a good king, he needs to learn something that the son of a king never learns, which is pain. He needs to learn what it feels like to have pain, to have the whip. Why? Because that way, when someone exaggerates on the sentence proposal of a criminal and tells him that because he stole 1 potato or 3 potatoes, he deserves 900 whips, before the king is going to agree nonchalantly, he's going to remember today. He's going to remember how it feels like to be whipped 10 times. And he's going to say, no way is this guy going to survive 900 whips. And no way is it justified to hit him 900 times just for 3 potatoes. Hit him once, let him go home. It's enough. Because now he knows the pain. Now he's ready to be a king. Rabotai Kareem, sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu will put you through pain in order to prepare you to be the king. Sometimes they'll put somebody else in your life in pain in order to make you their guide and teach them what and how to use it. But sometimes we forget that everything that we have in the world is simply a part of a test in order for us to get to our destination. And the reason for that is because we forget, because money blinds us. Rav Wasserman Alav Shalom went to collect for his yeshiva only when there was literally nothing left. Because he would utilize every minute of his time learning and teaching his boys. He gave them food, he gave them shelter, and he gave them olam haba. And only when they literally did not have any food to eat did he go out collecting. One time he went to one of his regulars, a rich guy, that would donate whenever he would ask him to. And it was in the middle of winter. It was freezing to the extent of, literally, if you were there long enough, you'd simply going to die. Forget about get sick, get a cold. Simply die. He gets to the rich man's house. There's snow everywhere. He knocks on the door. The helper, the butler of the rich guy opens the door. Big, beautiful door. Says, yes. Says, can you please tell the Baal Habayit that Rav Wasserman is here. Rav Elchanan Wasserman. He says, come in, come in. He goes, no, I'll be here. Outside. The butler goes, runs to the Baal Habayit, the wealthy man, in his study. He says, there's someone here to see you. He says, tell him to come up. He goes, no, he insisted on being downstairs. Outside? It's freezing. He goes, yeah, he insisted on being there. He goes, who is it? He goes, he said it's a Elchanan Bunim Wasserman. He says, Rav Wasserman is downstairs outside. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. He runs outside. He goes, Kvod Rav, come in, come in. He goes, no, I'm here we need money for the yeshiva. He goes, okay, Kvod Rav, come in, we can talk. He goes, no, you don't understand. The boys haven't eaten in 2 days. Some of them are eating the peels of the potatoes because that's all we have left. He goes, okay, Kvod Rav, you just come in, we'll finish. He goes, no, but you have to understand. Some of the boys, their shoes have opened up like a whale. Opens his mouth, like a hippopotamus opens his mouth. Their shoes are like that because we don't have money to buy them shoes. He goes, okay, Kvod Rav, come inside. He goes, no, but you don't understand. We don't have money to burn wood and it's freezing and some of the kids are getting sick. He goes, Kvod Rav, how much do you need? He says, we need X amount of money. He goes, I'll give it to you. Please come in. He goes, okay, now I'll come in. After he comes in, and the guy's freezing, the guy himself, because the door is open, he's outside also. He says, Kvod Rav, you okay? He goes, yeah, Baruch Hashem, everything okay. He says, why didn't you just tell me everything here? There's fire, Baruch Hashem, we didn't have to freeze in the cold. He says, I needed you to have a few minutes of feeling like my boys feel. So you understand why you're giving. To understand why you're giving. A person is rich, that gives him a responsibility. If you see such a person, if you are such a person, you know such a person, you have to give them kavod in a sense because you know that if they're taking care of that responsibility, they are a vessel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is using. If you are using your money to publicize Torah, you deserve kavod because you are being used as a vessel for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to put his Torah all over the world. On the other hand, if a person does not use that money for the right reasons, instead of buying Torah, he's buying houses and vacations and stocks, unfortunately, that person, you have to almost like mourn over them. Because it's sad, because they'll be prosecuted for this. So this, Rabotai Karim, is some of the things that we have to know. And one of the connections that you could have for this to the current Parashat Shavua is the following. Yaakov Avinu is about to see his brother, Esav. And it says, Parashat Vayishlach, that Esav brought with him literally hundreds and hundreds of generals. Each one of them had their own armies. Literally, it was like millions of people to go to war with Yaakov. Yaakov sends angels to go give gifts to Esav. But he prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Atzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me from my brother, save me from Esav. Now, this Rabotai Karim is a verse that I've given you a couple of insights on in the past, connecting to missionaries, connecting to wicked people, and so on, but also connects to the Ramban. Sometimes a certain person has good, but he uses that good for bad. He has a blessing, but he uses it for bad. And this, Rabotai, is one of the most dangerous things in the world, because when a person uses something good for bad, it's very deceiving. If a person has a lot of money and he doesn't use it the right way, it's very deceiving. If a person has a certain amount of wisdom and he doesn't use it the right way, it's very deceiving, because naturally you would think if he's rich, he's probably generous. Naturally you would think if he's smart, he goes to yeshiva, he's a rabbi, he should be a good guy. So Yaakov is crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please save me from my brother, save me from Esav. Save me from such people that look like my brother, but really they're acting like Esav. Sometimes I say certain things in the shurim that people cringe. Sometimes. I tell you that if a person is a missionary, even if he wants to do tshuva, you're not allowed to help him. If a person violates Shabbat and does not do tshuva, his gehenom is eternity. And so on and so forth. Some of these things make people cringe because it's not politically correct and it sounds like it's extreme. Well, another thing that the Gemara says in Masechet Pesachim, in page 113, is that there are certain types of people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves, such as a person that doesn't get angry, or a person that doesn't get drunk, or a person that does not insist on his own measures, meaning that he doesn't insist, you embarrassed him, he doesn't insist on giving it back to you, what you really deserve. But also, the Gemara says, there are certain types of people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates them. One that says one thing with his mouth while meaning something else in his heart. He calls you tzaddik, but in reality he thinks you're rasha. He says, I love you, but in reality he can't wait to kill you. He says thank you, but in reality he hates you and he doesn't thank you, you should thank him. Someone that pretends to be your friend, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates him. Another person is a person that knows testimony affecting his friend, but does not testify on his behalf. You could help your friend in court, in a certain issue, but you choose not to. No, I don't want to get involved, like one of those people. Yeah, but she's going to divorce me if you don't say something. Hey, listen, that's your problem. I'm not getting involved between a man and his wife. I'm not getting involved in his business. It's between you guys. I don't want to get involved. One of those people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates him. Why? You can save the situation from getting worse. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put you in that place for a reason. Someone who sees his friend involved in a sexual transgression, but only testifies against him alone, without a second witness, because that's not acceptable. Testimony. It has to be two. So we see here clearly there's a few examples of certain people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates. But then the Chachamim say, are you allowed to hate him? Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates this person. What about you? Are you allowed to hate him? So the Gemara says yes. You're allowed to hate people. But then there's a conflict. Every day people tell you, wait a minute, all of Am Yisrael, you gotta love everybody. You gotta love all Jews. You gotta love each other. What's going on? That's what the Gemara says. At certain times you're permitted to hate a Jew. But the Gemara continues and says the following. It says, we're not talking about all of these examples. Don't misunderstand that this is referring to goyim. Like a goy that says one thing in his mouth but means something in his heart. A goy that makes a sex crime. A goy that is you could testify. No. We're specifically talking about Jews. But what kind of Jews? Are we talking about Reshaim? Are we talking about wicked people? So why doesn't it say wicked people? Wicked people, there's no kashya, there's no complication. If Hashem hates them, then I hate them. No, it's not somebody is an enemy of Hashem, it's a mitzvah to hate them. He says, no. You not only hate the people that are enemies of Hashem, you're actually allowed to hate people that technically Hashem may not hate them, but you're allowed to hate them sometimes. Why? You're allowed to hate someone that more or less is not necessarily bad everywhere. But he's bad in one place, that's more than enough. And that is if he's a faker. If he's a fake Jew. He pretends to be religious, but he steals in his business. He pretends to be religious, but in reality he looks at little boys. She pretends to be religious, but in reality she's not so honest with her husband. Sometimes she has a boyfriend, but it's only on Facebook. She's text messaging. She fall in love with text message. I had a religious woman tell me, I'm going to leave my husband and 4 kids over somebody I met on WhatsApp. I said, Hashem yirachem. Hashem yirachem aleinu. I said, is he Jewish? She says, yeah, he's religious. The boyfriend that she met on WhatsApp. Not only, we're not talking about Reshaim. Talking about people that overall, she keeps Shabbat. He keeps Shabbat. Gives tzedakah sometimes too. But you're a faker. Hashem hates fakers. Hashem hates people that He gave them a certain amount of gifts in the world, but these people have taken those gifts and simply thrown them in the garbage and disrespected them. There are many rabbis in the world, unfortunately, that are given a crowd. They're given a talent. They're given a certain amount of money, and they're misusing it. And sometimes we speak against them. We mention them by names. And sometimes people cringe. They think it's wrong. No, but a lot of people disagree with you, but a lot of this, about a lot of that. Look at the Gemara. Look at the Gemara. We're not doing anything that contradicts the Torah. To be religious is not a once in a while thing. It's not a certain color or a certain asset. It's you. Someone made a video recently calling it, I want to tell you who I am. Nice kid, 23, 24-year-old religious kid. For 2.5 minutes, he talks about what? He's married, he moved from one country to another, then in that country he moved to another city, and then he got a certain job, and then he changed the job, and he has a kid and one on the way. The kid is cute as can be, nice kid, young kid. And people liked what he made. One mistake about the video. That's not you. That's what you have. The kid is what you have. The wife is what you have. Where you lived and where you live is what you have. You are Jewish. Or you're a faker. One or the other. If your Torah is your priority in life and you live your life in accordance to this rule book from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're a Jew. And that's as great as can possibly be. If you're a Noahide and you live by this rule book, you're a Noahide. That's as good as can be for you. No problem. But if you violate it, you're a problem. But even a bigger problem, if you make pretend like you're keeping it. Because if you're violating it because you're clueless. You were born into a non-religious family. You lived in a non-religious community. You have no idea the significance of Shabbat. You have no idea the significance of promiscuity. You have no idea the significance of honesty and integrity in business. You have no idea about this stuff, and you're just learning it now at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. No problem. I love you. I'll help you. Let's do tshuva together. That's what the Rambam says. But if you already know and you lie and you say to your students that there's no punishment regardless of what crime you have, don't worry, the Rabbi is the Mashiach, don't worry, Hashem is kind, and you simply manipulate the Torah, you yourself make all types of crimes against Hashem, like this Rasha Merusha from Russia, that was one of the top rabbis over there, just got caught by private investigators cheating on his wife with a woman he's converting. She's not Jewish. But you look at him, looks like a tzaddik, looks like he's from Mount Sinai. One of my friends tells me that he heard he was at the Keilah, that he gave a shiur on Rosh Hashanah. He told the entire Keilah, which most of them Mechalel Shabbat, you only have one mitzvah in the world. What's the mitzvah? Donate money to the Beit Knesset. Donate money, that's it, it's your only mitzvah. No Shabbat, no Tarat Mishpacha, no Kashrut, no nothing. That person, not only does the Kadosh Baruch Hu hate him, all of us are obligated to hate him. Because he's a faker. He's a faker. A person like that, Rabotai, is more dangerous than a non-religious Jew. Now, if you have money, you can help the fakers or the ones that are fighting against them. And that's what Yaakov Avinu is saying over here. Hashem, help me.
help me against the fakers, because they look like they're my brothers. They're wearing black and white. They have a kisui rosh. They look great. They're rabbis sometimes. They're gabais. They're running shuls. They're running yeshivot, and so on. Help me from them. Why? Because in reality, even though they look like my brother, they're on Esav's team. They're on Esav's team. They're Amalek. And I'm not giving you any chidush here. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote in the Zohar Kadosh, before Mashiach comes, most of the rabbis in the world are going to be Erev Rav. Amalek. Doesn't mean you start pointing at any rabbi, say Amalek, because we already learned how much kavod you have to give to the Torah. You have to have a reason. You can't just decide, oh, he's Amalek. How do you find the reason? What do they teach? If they teach things that are according to the Torah, whether it's from the Masoret of Chassidut, or the Masoret of the Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, Litaim, whatever it is, but they teach according to the Torah, 13 principles of faith, Shulchan Aruch, Gemara, Chumash, and so on, no problem. Doesn't matter who, what, when, and how. Whether you have a hat, you don't have a hat. As long as they teach that. But if they teach things that do contradict everything else, but they want to attach some rabbi's name on it, because that rabbi is not alive to defend himself, you not only are forbidden from listening to them or supporting them, but if you do, you will get judged just like them. This is a very special message for every single person that donates to these organizations that teach shekel. Because if you donate $100 to them, that $100 is going to kill Jews. You donate $1,000 to them, you're going to kill Jews with that money. Somebody told me, yeah, listen, I'm going to open another center for this organization. I said, why? They believe some guy that died is the Mashiach, like Christianity. He's like, no, it's a special story, special story. Shem Yilachem, special story. A lot of special stories. $1 billion a year, you still can't do anything with it. Aside from building themselves more buildings and more houses. Rabotai Karim, it's time people woke up. It's time people understood that there is a difference between real Torah and fake Torah. Everyone likes to kiss up to rich people because they forgot where the money is coming from. It's important to know where the money came from, but it's also important to give honor to people that deserve honor. But never ever forget, the Torah is something that comes before everybody. As long as you understand that, and you realize that if this person or this organization is something that produces fake Torah, that contradicts the sages, contradicts HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you supporting them, even if you don't send the money, by simply watching their videos, you're part of the crime. You send them money, you're simply the criminal yourself. You're the mob boss. They're just the snipers. You send them your maaser, you send them your last-minute donation before the end of the year, you are a criminal 100%. I have to say this because this is what it says in the Torah. If I don't say it, people continue sending money to these organizations, and what happens? More Jewish people drive on Shabbat. More Jewish people think that some rabbi that died is the Mashiach. More Jewish people continue to live life carelessly about fixing their own character traits. So although we are obligated to honor Talmidei Chachamim, don't think that someone that has a beard and a hat automatically is a Talmid Chacham. The hat you can buy in a store and the beard grows by itself. Talmid Chacham is determined based not only on the knowledge, but also based on the behavior. But before you do any of that, analyze yourself. Analyze yourself, see the good in others. But if you see someone outright as a Esav, outright they're teaching things that are against the Torah, verify that it's against the Torah, double check, ask them if they made a mistake. But if they didn't, you have to expose them with all your strength. This, Rabotai Karim, is a tough part for everyone to fulfill, but nonetheless it's a very necessary part because the war is getting more and more serious. I see many, many people, Baruch Hashem, doing tshuva, but I also see a lot of people get weaker. They get comfortable. And they start supporting and helping organizations that are simply fakers. And it's very, very damaging to the rest of the people trying to do tshuva because it's confusing. It's confusing how these fakers continue to build bigger buildings and more Jews support them, but yet the ones that actually help Jews do tshuva are barely surviving. It doesn't make any sense. It's time that everybody takes the initiative, share these shulim, learn them like they're supposed to, judge ourselves, work on ourselves, but also be honest. Be honest with yourself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because eventually we will all be judged for it. And Be'ezrat Hashem, all of us and all of Am Yisrael will do tshuva and get a favorable judgment. Thank you for learning with me. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.